Of course, the website mosthauntedlive.net. More messages to come a little bit later on. I'll leave you with this final thought from Sharon and Joan in Uxbridge, who they said when the Tesla experiment was on last night, their TV went on and off at the same time as the 3.5 million or whatever it was, 750 million volts were flashing into Carl. Hope the TV's recovered. Sharon, thank you very much indeed. And Paul, back to you.
Thank you, Julian. We are based here in the Lancashire coastal town of Morecambe. As we hinted earlier, tonight's investigation, tonight's vigil focuses on the sea. And we spoke to local historian Simon Entwistle about some of the darker aspects of the sea's history in this magnificent area. Here's what he had to say.
The tide that laps here at Morecambe Bay is amongst the most dangerous in the world. There have been many, many people who've lost their lives, sadly, due to being sucked into the sand. Way back in 1835, a coachman called John Williamson took a party of travellers from Hestbank to Kentsbag on the other side of the bay. It wasn't long before the vehicle became totally engulfed in the sand and the tide came in, drowning every single one of them. These sandbanks have caused a lot of chaos for shipping, and there's been many ships that has ground to a halt here on the sandbanks. It's a very dangerous and a very spooky place to be at night time. There is no darker chapter in the history of Lancaster than its involvement with the slave trade. Some skippers would have so many slaves on board that they were almost packed like sardines, and in many cases slaves went mad. It was quite common for some slaves to actually kill the companion next to them so they could get more air and more movement. The conditions were just absolutely intolerable. The grave of Sambo. He was the last slave ever to arrive here in Lancashire. He passed away way back in 1796, and this grave is a memorial to not only him, but to the many, many thousands of slaves that found their way to the coast of Lancashire. In 1907, the British government abolished slavery, but another dark trade was about to enter Great Britain, the trade of press gangs. Lancaster was a very, very busy port, and lots of Royal Naval warships would make their way into the port. Of course, the captain needed men, and he would send his press gangs into the shore to find the local inns, and there you would find probably local farmers' sons, and they'd be plied with drink. They'd become so inebriated, they'd wake up the following morning on board a Royal Naval warship. You can imagine the sheer horror, and there was a very, very good chance that you could lose your life.
Thank you, Simon. I wonder what the weather's like tonight where you are. Here it's a dark and stormy night. It's raining outside, but all the weather reports we've seen say that for almost all of the country it is dry tonight. Not here, not in Lancashire, not on the Lancashire coast near Morecambe. A disciple of Sigmund Freud's called Wilhelm Reich believed that if you discharged massive amounts of electrical energy into the atmosphere you could change the weather system. I'm not necessarily linking the weather here tonight to the discharge last night in Lancashire, in Lancaster, of 750,000 volts, but you can draw your own conclusions. Tonight's vigil is going to commence very soon indeed, and we're looking now for people to keep an eye on what's happening inside this theatre. The audience is vital to our operation here in Morecambe, and Julian Clegg has more. Julian.
Certainly are, and actually we're carrying out an experiment on one of the CCTV cameras tonight connected with tonight's theme, which is water, and we'll explain more with Dr. Kieran O'Keefe in just a few moments' time. But let's meet two of our audience members who are watching the CCTVs avidly this evening. David and Jen Blackburn from Lancashire. David is a purchasing director. Jen works as an accounts supervisor at a car dealership. They've been together for 21 years. This is their first Most Haunted Live. Jen is a believer, and David, it says here, is open-minded, and he's going to be paying particular attention to the cameras. David, good to see you.
Good evening.
Yeah, so this is your first time doing something like this?
It is, yeah.
Right, good.
Yeah,
Jen, what about you?
First time, yeah.
Yeah. What have you spotted so far?
Camera one, there's loads of like anomalies on there. And they seem to be every 15-20 minutes, which is a bit bizarre.
Right.
But the rest of them are pretty quiet.
And David, what about you?
Camera one's been the busiest. There's been loads of orbs going across that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm interested you say that as someone who's a sort of open-minded skeptic. So that just within a few minutes, you're already seeing things.
Yeah, there was quite a lot going on there.
I mean, when you're watching the show at home, I mean, Jen, are you someone who says, oh, no, come on, I believe that's happening? Or do you have a bit of a debate about it?
Sometimes we do, don't we? I definitely think there's something out there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And David, it sounds like you could be changing your mind tonight.
Could be, yeah. We'll see by the end of the night.
Right, well, look, thank you both for doing this. Keep a keen eye on that. And if you look at camera 1 on the CCTV, there is this object there, a water experiment. And Dr. Kieran O'Keefe is now going to explain a little bit more about this experiment and how it works. Let's have a look.
There has always been a pseudo-scientific link between water and the paranormal. From the idea where paranormal activity can use the natural energy of water in order to kind of exacerbate the activity. Because of this water and spirit communication link, the natural next step is to actually try and record spirit communication within water. And so tonight, the experiment that we have set up is something called a hydrophone. Essentially, the piece of apparatus, the hydrophone, is a large jar of water with a specially created microphone in the jar in the hope that we pick up some sort of communication, whether it be knocking or even words. The way the apparatus has been designed, it means that we have a slight control in place. If we were to simply place the jar on the floor with the microphone submerged in the water, then what we could easily pick up would be the vibration of people walking or even shuffling their feet. The apparatus has thus been designed to kind of dampen that vibration, for want of a better word. The last time Most Haunted used a similar apparatus to the hydrophone, the results were not very promising. But I think that was because of the rudimentary design and also using a microphone that was not specifically designed for that sort of experiment. At least with this one, this is kind of a modern, highly improved version, and we do have a microphone that's specifically designed for hearing underwater. So it is essentially a Most Haunted Live first.
So our audience members, in fact there are 4 of them, are keeping an eye on that experiment on the CCTV camera here in the Winter Gardens in Morecambe on camera 1, and we'll have a look at it later on in the show. Now, some more messages coming through on Interactive, and thank you for these, and lots of thoughts of what might happen tonight. Tony in Bedford says the name James is going to play a big role in tonight's investigation, and a ship captain called Bell. And Alan from Pontefract said, what a fantastic show last night. I was totally glued to the Tesla experiment, by the way, rather them than me. Lots of you got in touch about the Tesla experiment last night. Believe me, there's even more excitement on the show tonight. Maggie from Northwood says, I have had the name Nancy in my head all day today. She may seem like a kind young lady, but she will lie. Tell the team this. Make sure you leave no stone unturned tonight whilst we're looking for the face of evil. It might be Nancy. And finally, I'll leave you with this. Tony from Bedford. The names Catherine, Alison, Elizabeth and James will be following the team after last night's vigil. There's a very nasty man, and the name Noel comes to mind. He seems to be pursuing the women in the team. More from Interactive a little bit later on, and a look at those 8 webcams as the show goes on too. But for the moment, Paul, back to you.
Thank you, Julian. The sea is dark and troubled tonight. Yvette Fielding, the team, are almost at the vigil location. What's waiting for them beneath the waves? We'll find out after this.
Immediately I picked up on an overriding male presence, a very strong, a very angry man.
Welcome back to Most Haunted Live from here, the Winter Gardens Theatre in Morecambe, on the Lancashire coast. A grim and grisly night indeed. The worst weather we've endured for any of our visuals, which is kind of ironic because for a lot of tonight, Yvette Fielding and the team will be outside. They are almost at the vigil location. Let's go now live to them via video mobile phone. Hello Yvette, can you hear me? It's Paul.
Hi Paul, how are you doing?
Probably better than you, Yvette. This is the worst weather we've had all week, isn't it? What's it like out there?
Exactly. We've been stuck in such terrible traffic. But we've managed to get here now. We've just pulled up outside the location. And it's not raining, thank goodness for that. But then there is a part of me that was hoping for lightning and thunder, and so, you know.
Are you looking forward to it tonight? And can you tell us anything about what's in store for us, Yvette?
I'm not going to tell you anything that's going to happen. I'm not going to give you any hints or clues. It's, you know, it might even just be a straightforward ghost investigation. and because that's what we're here for, we might just go straight back to basics and see if we can catch any ghosts.
Going to be a fascinating night, whatever happens. Good luck, stay safe, give our love to the team. Yvette Fielding, ladies and gentlemen, about to start the visual. Well, it is a beautiful coastline, the Lancashire coast. Morecambe is a beautiful seaside town, but of course, as night falls and the weather gets worse, things can feel very sinister indeed. That is where Yvette is tonight, and here is just a little overview of what might be in store for them at tonight's vigil location.
The sea has been vital for Lancaster, once among England's busiest ports. Built in 1764 as a custom house for the busy trading industry, the Maritime Museum now stands testimony to Lancaster's seafaring past.